Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're heading all the way to the Ming Dynasty in China,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
a period packed with change. I mean, just
Mhm.
incredible shifts in Chinese society.
Absolutely. And
You're in luck.
yeah.
We've got these excerpts from China Notes. It's this document that really digs into those big questions about Chinese history. And
And this is a great time to use that source
yeah,
because,
this is the one.
the Ming Dynasty really had some ups and downs.
Yeah, it's almost like two different dynasties, right?
Right.
You have
Yeah.
all this energy early on, all this growth, China's connecting with the world.
Mm.
And then later on, they just turn inward.
It's wild.
Yeah. So let's dive right into those early years.
Okay.
China Notes really jumps right in there.
Yeah, let's
Specifically, 1405 to 1422.
right.
That's when they brought back the civil service examination system.
Oh yeah, a classic, a classic.
Now, this wasn't just like a bureaucratic reshuffling,
Right, right.
like moving some desks around.
No.
This was a major deal.
Huge.
And I think it's hard for us today.
To even imagine,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
imagine a system where, in theory, anyone,
Right. Yeah.
regardless of their family's status or wealth,
Like where they came from,
could rise to a position of real power
just based on how they did.
on an exam.
Yeah, on this exam.
I mean, think about it.
It's kind of crazy.
It was this insanely difficult exam, too.
Nowadays.
It tested knowledge of Confucian classics, literature, history, poetry.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the whole 9 yards.
So it wasn't just
Right.
like memorizing some dates.
No, this is in-depth stuff.
Wow. So it's like a super SATs or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A super SATs with, like, life-changing stakes.
Yeah, because if you pass this,
You could completely change your trajectory your whole life.
did it actually work that way, though?
Yeah.
I mean, was it really that simple?
Well, it's never quite that simple, right?
Yeah.
I mean, coming from a wealthy family definitely helped you, had access to better education, to tutors, all of that.
So there were still those advantages.
Definitely. But it did open some doors that hadn't been opened before.
Okay, so we've got these exams happening,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also this other thing going on that I find really interesting.
Okay.
It's like this massive building boom.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're rebuilding and expanding the Great Wall,
The scale of that is just incredible.
which is already
Yeah.
kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, how do they even do that?
It's huge.
It's monumental.
And they're also making the Grand Canal even longer.
Right, connecting the empire.
Yeah, it would be like us today deciding,
Like, what if we just dug another Panama Canal?
yeah,
Just for fun.
just because we can.
Yeah.
But these weren't just like random construction projects, were
No,
they?
no, these were statements.
Yeah.
Statements of power and ambition.
So the Great Wall, obviously, that was about defense.
Protecting the empire, showing strength to any potential invaders.
You don't want to mess with us, basically.
Exactly.
But the Grand Canal, that was different, wasn't it?
That was about internal connections. It was about tying this vast territory together economically, allowing goods and grain to flow easily between north and south
Wow, so it really was a way of like unifying the country.
in a very practical way.
And then on top of all of that,
There's the Forbidden City.
we can't forget about
This
that.
wasn't just a palace.
Yeah.
This was an icon, a symbol.
Yeah, just picturing it, you know,
Those towering red walls, the intricate golden roofs.
like it's meant to just overwhelm you
completely.
with the power of the emperor, the absolute authority of the Ming dynasty.
It's a statement to the world.
So we have this picture emerging, right?
Mhm,
This
mhm.
dynasty that's super confident.
Yeah.
They're building on this massive scale.
Ambitious.
Yeah, and they weren't content to just stay home, were they?
No, they weren't.
Because this is also when we see Admiral Zhang. He's voyages,
Yes, and they were incredible.
like these massive expeditions all over the place.
Exactly, and they really show this outward focus of the early Ming.
So just to give people a sense of the scale here, we're
Yeah.
talking,
Hundreds of ships, some of them larger than anything Europe had at the time,
wow.
sailing across the Indian and Pacific Oceans, establishing trade links, collecting tribute, showing the Ming flag from Indonesia to the east coast of Africa.
Mind-blowing.
It really is.
So they're out there exchanging goods,
Right.
technologies, ideas.
Connecting with all these different cultures.
Did any of that leave a lasting impact on China itself?
Oh, absolutely. We see the influence of these interactions in everything from porcelain designs to the adoption of certain navigational techniques.
Wow.
These voyages weren't just about showing off. They were about connecting with the world for better or worse.
Which makes it even more surprising when things shift so drastically later on.
Yeah, it really is a head scratcher.
Because China Notes talks about how the late Ming dynasty just embraces this isolationist policy.
Yeah, they slam on the brakes.
It's like they were going full speed ahead.
and then a hard stop.
And I'm trying to understand, like, what prompted that?
Well, there were a few things going on. For
So,
one thing, these expeditions were expensive,
oh, yeah. Okay.
and there were also internal power struggles at the court.
Makes sense.
And some officials started arguing that China should focus on its own internal affairs.
So kind of a turn inwards.
Yeah, instead of engaging with the outside world.
And that had some pretty huge consequences, didn't it?
Unfortunately, yes.
Because the document specifically mentions how China starts falling behind
Yeah, they fall behind technologically and scientifically.
because of this isolation.
Exactly. It's like while Europe is having the Renaissance and the beginnings of the scientific revolution,
Right,
China is turning inward. Now, this doesn't mean they stopped innovating completely,
right.
but they certainly weren't leading the charge anymore.
And it really makes you wonder,
What if they had kept those lines of communication open?
yeah, what if they had stayed connected?
How might the balance of power have shifted? It's a question that still fascinates historians today.
It's almost like a cautionary tale, isn't it? Even the most powerful empires can make choices that lead them down.
Down a very different path than they expected.
Yeah, so what started with these really strict exams,
And massive building project.
these impressive voyages,
All this energy.
ultimately led them to this totally different place.
It's a reminder that history is full of twists and turns.
Yeah, and it makes you think how interconnected everything is.
Right.
Choices made centuries ago can still have ripples we feel today.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
It is.
There's so much more we could uncover about the Ming Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, we've just scratched the surface.
But hopefully this deep dive gave you a taste of just how complex it was.
And why it still fascinates us today.
So until next time, keep exploring.
Keep those questions coming.